Good evening. Thank you for waiting. I know it's been quite a long one. Before we start, I'll introduce myself. I'm Councillor Theodore Jupp. I'll be the chair of tonight's hearing. I'd like to invite my colleagues on the panel to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Councillor Simon Orsini. I'm on the committee tonight.
Hello, excuse me, Councillor Max Morris. I'm also on the subcommittee this evening.
Could I invite the officers, please?
Yeah, Emma Thompson, Senior Licensing Compliance Officer. I'm here to represent the report tonight.
And I'm Alison Daly. I'm a solicitor and I advise the subcommittee this evening.
Hello, I'm Tanaka Meros. I'm a trainee solicitor.
Hi, I'm Uswa from Law and Governance.
And our interested party.
Alex Bloomfield, Alcohol Licensing Officer with Thames Valley Police.
Thank you very much. Before we get on to the reports, does anyone have any declarations of pecuniary or other interest to make? That's none. Fantastic. In which case, Emma, could you please present the report?
Thank you, Chair. This licensing subcommittee hearing is convened to determine a variation application submitted by Wendy's Restaurants of UK Limited for the premises licence in respect of Wendy's, No. 1 Morgan Street, Oxford. The applicant has applied for the following licensable activities and time: the provision of late night refreshment, Sunday to Wednesdays, 2300 hours to midnight, and Thursday to Saturday, 2300 hours to 200 hours. The current premises licence hours are Friday and Saturday, 2300 hours to midnight. A copy of the application can be found at Appendix 1 or pages 19 to 30 of the agenda bundle. A copy of the current premises licence can be found at Appendix 2 or pages 31 to 36 of your agenda bundle. The application received no adverse comments from Oxfordshire Fire and Rescue Service as a responsible authority under the Licensing Act. The application did, however, receive a representation from Thames Valley Police, which can be found at Appendix 3 or pages 37 to 59 of your agenda bundle. As part of their representation, there was a raft of conditions to be added to the licence by the subcommittee if they were minded to grant the variation this evening. There were comments of support from two interested parties. These can be found at Appendix 4 or pages 60 and 61 of your agenda bundle. The subcommittee and all other parties of the hearing will note that there is a map detailing the applicant's premises and the surrounding areas, and this is attached to Appendix 5 or page 62 of the agenda. It must also be noted that this premises is within the city centre special saturation policy area. However, this is no longer in place as of April 2025. However, it is being currently reviewed in our cumulative impact assessment as part of our requirement under the Section 55A of the Licensing Act 2003. Details detailing this can be found at paragraphs 13 to 15 of the report. Other relevant considerations is the subcommittee is reminded of its responsibilities under the Crime and Disorder Act 1998 and the Human Rights Act when considering the fair balance between the interests of the applicant and the rights of local residents. Any decision taken by the subcommittee must be necessary and proportionate to the objectives being pursued. Members are reminded that whenever they make a decision under the Licensing Act 2003, they have a duty to act with the view of promoting the licensing objectives. When considering any representation, only those issues relating to those four objectives should be considered and appropriate weight given to the importance and relevance of each representation. In making its decision, the subcommittee must also have regard to the Home Office statutory guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003 and the Council's own statement of licensing policy. Details of these are found within the body of your report. The subcommittee must take such of the following steps as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licence and objectives. They can grant the variation in accordance with the application, modify the conditions of the operating schedule by altering, omitting or adding to them, exclude or restrict from the scope of the licence any of the licensable activities to which the licence application relates, or reject the application as a whole. The subcommittee may also grant the licence subject to different conditions for different parts of the premises and or different licensable activities. And members should note that the applicant or persons making representation have the right of appeal against any decision made by this subcommittee this evening. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Emma. Does anyone have any questions for the licensing authority?
Any question what's open till after 12 in George Street, Malden Street or that end of
Thank you. So a quick scan of our system showed there is Medina Kebabs, which is a van based on George Street, which is just around the corner from this premises. They have a license for late night refreshment Monday and Tuesdays from 11 till 3, Wednesday to Sunday 11 till 4. There's Kebab King, which is a static premises, so a building on Gloucester Green, and they actually have Friday and Saturday nights 2300 to 5, Monday to Thursday 2300 hours to 4:30, and then Sundays 2300 hours to 300. And then also Gourmet Burger Kitchen further down George Street does have late night refreshment provision from 2300 hours to 200 hours daily. You have a nearby premises is out St Giles outside the Ashmolean, which would have similar hours to the other kebab van.
Thank you very much. Unless there are any further questions to Emma, I don't think so. I'd like to invite the applicant to outline their application addressing the licensing objectives. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself as well, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So thank you. My name is Luke Atkins. I'm a district manager for Wendy's Restaurants of the UK, who I'm representing tonight. Obviously, we've made an application to vary our premises license, and Thames Valley Police made an objection based on two of the licensing objectives, crime and disorder and public nuisance. I'd like the opportunity to address those this evening. So at Wendy's, we understand our duty to the local community as we seek to extend our operating hours. Our top priority is the safety and well-being of our customers, our restaurant team members, and our neighbours. We believe that our current procedures and our proposed ones this evening are thorough and aligned with the 4 licensing objectives. We're eager to work closely with the relevant authorities to support these objectives. And just referring to the first representation made under the prevention of crime and disorder, our establishments use CCTV surveillance systems, which are placed strategically to cover key areas of our premises internally and externally. This monitoring helps prevent and detect incidents, which help ensure the safety and security of our customers and our team members. This footage is kept on record for 31 days and is available to any relevant authorities as they request this. Our CCTV is placed to capture customers' heads and shoulders as they enter the building and throughout. We also are proposing to have a minimum of 2 SIA accredited security staff who would be on site from 10 PM to 2 AM on a Thursday, Friday and Saturday. They will be located at the main entrance and also in the main dining room area in our restaurant, and they will manage the ingress and digress of customers through our doors. They'll also be managing any potential issues and to ensure that the noise level is appropriate. All of our restaurant team members are required to complete a late night security training module when they start their employment with us. This course outlines our essential operating procedures, including any specific license conditions for late night operation, and emphasize what to do to maintain a secure environment. Our team also receive welfare and vulnerability engagement training. This gives our team the skills to prevent and reduce violent crime, sexual offences, help reduce preventable injuries relating to alcohol and drug use, reduce opportunities for criminal or antisocial behaviour, and also help promote partnerships and engagements with our community and stakeholders. In reference to the licensing objective of the prevention of public nuisance, our push and pull doors are self-close, and our team and security staff will encourage customers to be considerate to our neighbours and to limit noise when they are ordering their food and on leaving our restaurant. Our windows always remain closed and we only play unamplified background music, never live music. We display notices prominently at each exit from the premises that encourage our customers to be considerate when leaving. And we will also instruct our SIA accredited security staff to patrol the front area of our restaurant and disperse any lingering groups. Our team will also patrol the area outside of our premises on an hourly basis during the hours of the late night license and any litter attributable to us will be cleared as well. We also work with our delivery partners to encourage delivery drivers to use electrically powered bicycles to minimize disruption to our neighbours as well. I would like to just bring the attention, our site or our restaurant in Reading has been operating a late night licence on a Friday and Saturday till 2 AM for the last 12 months. During those 12 months, we've had no incidences that have required us to contact any emergency services. And just referring to the proposed conditions in the report, after reviewing them, we have no objections to them and we'd be happy to agree to them. And that's everything.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, are there any questions for the applicant? Go on. Councillor Tina.
Why only at the weekends would you have these two staff? Why not every week? You proposing to open till midnight every day?
We're proposing only till the weekend. Generally, in our experience in other branches where we have had late night trading, we haven't had any issues kind of during the week. Obviously, at the weekend, we do see high number of people coming into the restaurant because it's the weekend, and that's where we feel that the security offer the best help for our team.
Thank you. Until when is your seating open at the moment? Do you close your seating after a certain time and just allow people to come in and collect their order and leave, or is the seating open throughout?
It's open for the entirety that we're operating at this point, but we're also open if that were to be a condition that we could potentially close it at a certain time.
With the seating being open, I know comparable businesses in the area which close their seating after a certain time. Do you ever find it difficult to manage, say, drunk people or manage potential conflicts that tend to arise later on in the evening?
No, I don't think so. The way our dining room is laid out, it gives us an opportunity to kind of be able to take people to the side, to help diffuse situations. Obviously, the security staff that we do have in our restaurants that do operate late night are kind of able to mitigate that and potentially prevent, people who they feel could cause an issue or a problem from coming into the restaurant as well.
Why Thursday evening?
Because we see a demand for our business on a Thursday evening. We have a very healthy kind of delivery business in the evening on a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. Because of our location, as people are kind of leaving and using the bus stops that are located outside of our restaurant, we do get a lot of people who want to come in and stay warm and, eat food with us before they're leaving the city centre.
Would you say that the peak of delivery orders aligns with the peak of people turning up to eat at your restaurant, or are there different kind of tendencies?
Yeah, I think I would agree with that, yes.
So how do you manage currently the congregation of delivery riders?
I would say generally on the whole, we tend not to see congregation of delivery drivers. Our food orders take 4 to 5 minutes to make. The system that we use is all integrated with the delivery driver's app. So when the order is ready, they get a notification to tell them that the order is ready so they can come into the restaurant to pick up the order. If on the very low occasion that they do have to wait, it's generally never more than a couple of minutes before they're taking the order and making their way out.
Have you ever witnessed riders parking their vehicles on the pavement or on the double yellows outside while they collect orders? And how would you deal with that?
I haven't seen any drivers coming in cars to pick up their order. What we tend to see is them coming on bicycles. But in my experience, I haven't seen anyone kind of throughout the entirety that we operate parking outside.
Mopeds was what I was getting at.
I must admit, mopeds, no, I haven't seen that either.
Okay. You mentioned in your application the fact that your doors open and close. Are they always kept closed, or are they sometimes propped open?
They're always kept closed. We do have the option to prop them open, but it's our standard to keep them closed at all times.
Why is that?
It obviously for noise, it helps reduce the noise of the restaurant. Kind of heading outside, especially in the evenings, obviously helps us maintain the temperature in the restaurant, keep our utility bills down and things like that.
Okay, good. That's it from me for now. Does anyone else have any questions? Councillor Martinez and Councillor Morris.
Follow-up question to what he asked about closing the seating down. You were talking about that as a possibility. Are you able to sort of think out loud what those hours might be that you'd be willing to accept that? So that would be takeaway only at that point, I guess.
Yeah. So if that was an option, I think ideally from midnight to 2 a.m. on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we could operate as a delivery only or takeaway only operation. But we could also look at 11 o'clock as well. Some of our existing restaurants do run similarly like that.
On the weekdays?
On the weekdays, I think our preference would be to operate full dining room till midnight. If that's not an option, we could also do till 11 o'clock and then take away only from that last hour.
Thank you. In the written application, I only noticed a discussion or description of CCTV within the premises, but you just said to us that you also have externally facing CCTV. I just wondered if you could say a bit more about that and why it was missing from the application, kind of what directions it points in.
Sure, absolutely. So it's a recent thing that we've had installed as part of a kind of a CCTV upgrade that the business has done. It faces out over the entrance, kind of our entrance doorways, just to capture anyone that's kind of walking into the premises.
Sorry, so is it just the one camera above the door pointing down?
Yes.
So you'll get an aerial view of people coming in?
Yes.
But not out onto...
Not necessarily out
adjoining
onto
areas.
the people, so capturing any customers or people who aren't coming into our restaurant. It just covers the kind of the vestibule, if you want to call it, where our doors are.
Thanks for the clarification.
As I understand it, your unit is quite oddly shaped. It's not square. It's more of a weird polygon. And if I remember rightly, the ordering machines are on the left as you come in, but people would walk straight on to get to the service area.
Yes.
How do you propose to manage crowds of people in that strangely shaped space late at night when some of them will be drunk?
So our doorway is a relatively small doorway compared to kind of the way that the restaurant expands out once you enter it. So that will be a kind of a natural slow point for people coming into the restaurant. As I said before, we will have security staff who are going to be managing the ingress and the digress, so ensuring that we're not having too many people come in at the same time. And too many people trying to leave at the same time. Our team will also be out in the dining room area as well. They'll be managing, or talking to our customers, directing them in the right direction, and ensuring that people are kind of acting in a safe way, and they have the backup of the security staff if they've got someone who might be a little bit belligerent or drunk.
This is quite a broad question, so feel free to just, take a couple of minutes if you need. But I'd be really curious to know what your professional opinion is as to the pros and cons of shutting the closing area after a certain time. And just tell us what you think, and be frank. I speak for myself, genuinely curious.
So are you referring to if we were only to operate like a takeaway only or delivery only business?
After a certain time, what would the pros and cons for you be?
Cool. Okay. I think pro-wise, potentially we would not need to have security staff on because people would not be entering the business. Though I think, kind of based on that, we would still need to have someone to manage the doorway.
Yeah, for clarification, when I say shut the seating area, I mean people can still go in and place their orders and collect their food, but not just for delivery.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think pros wise, it means that necessarily we wouldn't need to have as many staff members on if we're only operating a kind of a kitchen only. I think con wise, just being able to people might want the option to be able to sit down while they're waiting for friends to join them, or they're waiting for their transport home. That's all I can think of right at this point.
One final question from me. Could you tell us about the different types of customer you might have and how that changes depending on the time of service?
Yeah. Wendy's, we generally have quite a broad appeal. We're very popular with families. We do kids meals. We also are very popular with young adults. And obviously in Oxford, where there are a lot of students, we do see a lot of students come in kind of during the daytime as well. As we head into the evening, the families kind of drop off. We don't see them as much, and what we do tend to see is kind of young adults, middle-aged adults who are passing by, who are out in the town with the city centre.
I said final, but one more thing. What's the history of issues with drunkenness, issues with antisocial behaviour, people behaving in a generally unpleasant manner being at your premises?
As far as I'm aware, we've had no issues of any antisocial behaviour or anything like that. I don't think there's been any occasions where we've had to call the police to come to an incident. We've generally had, a couple of incidents with kind of young teenagers, some who jumped over the counter, try and done it for a TikTok craze and things like that. But generally, our team have been able to deal with them, and we haven't had any issues or anything like that.
How many people do you throw out on a weekly basis?
As far as I'm aware, none.
Brilliant, thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Tina?
Yeah, I mean, how many people do you not allow access to your premises on a weekly basis? Because I suppose our expectation is if you're open till 2, we'll be expecting you to not allow people access to your premises.
Yeah, I think at this point there hasn't been. Obviously, we only operate till midnight on a Friday and Saturday, so for late night wise. So that as far as I'm aware, that we haven't had an incident where we've refused entry.
Any more questions, anyone? Seeing none, I'll invite the responsible authority spokesperson to outline the nature of his representation.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, you'll have had a chance to have read my representation, so I'll be brief. This location falls within a site that is currently undergoing its statutory renewal process, but it is a cumulative impact zone. The application, certainly for the 2 a.m, gives the police a lot of concern. If you look at crime trends within the area, you are seeing within the nighttime economy that tends to be sort of where we're really seeing the peaks. Again, having a hot food venue open later, there used to be the term that these venues were good for drunken disorder, and that it diffused a lot of the tensions. But what we have found nationally is that a lot of these hot food venues do act as hotspots, because naturally you get groups of people inevitably congregating who have been drinking. In terms of the issues around security at weekends only, what I would like to say is obviously Oxford has a large student population, and in terms of society, it's more socially acceptable to go out weekday drinking as well. So certainly in Oxford, we see a nighttime economy that is a 7 day a week, a 7 day a week offer. There's obviously a lot of sort of student activity in the early part of the week, but it's no longer the preserve of just the weekends. So we would have concerns around this assumption that the early part of the week isn't a challenge, quite the opposite. So we are obviously concerned about this variation as it's currently being applied for, undermining cumulative effect. We are concerned about the presence of the gig economy delivery drivers. The Corn Market, George Street, St Giles Crossroads is frequently subject to large numbers of these mopeds, which park up near the bookshop and near the tower, whilst they already go and collect from various sites. So we are concerned and mindful of this broader impact, which obviously falls outside the scope of the venue's direct management. So it would be a question mark as to how much control we could have over that in terms of the licence. And the other thing I would say is we've looked at the SSP and we talk about cumulative impact, but we also need to consider the licensing objectives of the premises. What certainly I do when I get an application is I will look at the section 18 or section M of the form, which is where they outline the steps to promote the licensing objectives. The application highlights a few points that we would be looking for, but it doesn't deliver it in a prescribed fashion to explain to the authorities how they would achieve these things. In light of that, if the subcommittee were minded to grant this application in one form or another, we have listed a set of conditions that we think would properly ensure that the operation at the premises would be managed, or be in a better place to be managed in terms of the challenges that they will inevitably face trading after midnight. And I'm glad to hear that they've been accepted, and I wholeheartedly recommend them to the committee. But certainly for us, this application does prove a concern around cumulative effects and what that will mean for the city centre.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Alex?
Yeah.
Councillor Tina.
So what's your view about what difference it would make if they didn't allow people to sit down after a certain time and it just became takeaway and delivery? Does that make any difference to what your view?
If we're talking about walk-ins for takeaway, I still think that there's this potential for a hotspot, people congregating. You walk in, you buy your food, inevitably you're still going to be loitering in the area. We would not be a fan of the walk-in function. It would present a reduced effect on the cumulative impact, but there would still for us be that concern. Okay, delivery, on the other hand, obviously seems to mitigate that to a great degree, because it encourages people to leave the city centre to go because their food's en route. But certainly, you're still encouraging people potentially to be in the city centre at a time when they realistically should be dispersing. And we're worried about that 2 o'clock dispersal from St Giles. You've got the buses nearby. We want people to get on those buses, not to sort of be floating about.
And the points he made about their operation in Reading, is he right in what he says, or are you going to say there's opposite evidence?
No, I can say that both venues actually have traded without incident to the police.
Thank you very much. I just have the one question for Mr. Atkins. These patrols that you're going to that you're proposing to do on an hourly basis, or that you already do, sorry, on an hourly basis to collect litter? How much litter do you collect?
I'll use the example we use it in Reading. I think off the top of my head, it's probably no more than 5 or 6 pieces an hour. Obviously, all our any litter that comes from Wendy's is branded, so it's very easy for us to identify and pick it up. But it's not a huge issue that we've seen in Reading.
Okay. And another thing, what kind of customers do you expect to attract between midnight and 2?
I think it will be, the people who are in the city centre who are, enjoying a late night drink, and they tend to be our students will see, or young adults and adults. We're not expecting any kind of children or anything like that to be coming into our restaurant at that night.
But won't most of them be in an unfit state to be present at the restaurant without causing trouble?
I would say no. Obviously, while there is alcohol involved, and I acknowledge that there will be some people that might be, intoxicated. Generally, the people that we do see coming into our restaurants currently, don't cause any issues. They are able to manage themselves. We don't have any issues with, overly drunk people coming into the restaurant or anything like that.
Would you refuse them service if they did?
Yes, absolutely, we would. If we felt that they were causing an issue or presented a danger to themselves, to our team, or to any of our customers, then yes, we would.
Thank you. Unless there are any more questions for.
You're open in Reading until 2, you say? So how many people are you turning away on a Friday, Saturday night in Reading?
I think at this point, off the top of my head, none that I'm aware of.
And you've had no incidents at Reading?
No incidences that I'm aware of.
Thank you. To get back on track, unless there are any other questions for the responsible authority, none, then we shall move on. There are no interested parties, which means that we come to closing submissions. Applicant, do you have any points you would like to make to summarise your application, or would you like to waive your right to do so?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. Responsible authority? None? Licensing authority?
No, thank you, Chair.
Brilliant. In that case, I will adjourn this hearing and we will deliberate and let you know shortly, hopefully, what our decision is. Thank you.